Everyone's heard someone say that real love means different things to different people, which implies that everyone has different things that they love about different people, which means that real love is not a specific, definitive concept, which means that nobody can tell anyone else if they are really in love. The only person who knows is the person who's saying they are in love. Is this really the case? Let's compare that to some of the most popular scenarios and situations that happen in real life and try to understand whether real love is as different as people make it seem. Let's break it down. Yes, people, hello and welcome to another Monocombo episode. The biggest challenge for every guy in the world of dating and relationship is to actually know whether a lady he's involved with is really in love with him or pretending to be in love with him. The reason why this is the biggest challenge for every guy is because nobody can read minds. Since nobody can read minds, there are only two things that everyone uses to prove that something is real or fake. One, vocal confession, and two, evidence. Now, everybody knows that the big problem with vocal confession is that everybody lies and anyone can say anything. However, very few people can fake evidence that's based on the rules of science, mother nature, and father time. Which is why in any society, we all vote for systems that require gathering evidence to prove guilt or innocence. So already we can see that evidence is the most efficient and effective way for a guy to find out if the lady he's involved with is giving him fake love or real love. Actions speak louder than words. People are defined by deeds, not by words. Everyone can say, but very few can do. It's not about what we say, it's about what we do. It's not what we know, it's what we can prove. Everyone can tell anyone what to do. Very few can show people what to do. Everyone can say things to anyone. Very few can prove it to anyone. Becoming good at talking is all about speaking with a commanding voice. Becoming good at showing is all about executing with commanding moves. Everyone's amazing at telling stories. Very few are good at showing results or receipts. Which means that the guy who's having successful dating relationship experiences, the guy who's experiencing the level of dating relationship success that 95% of guys can only dream of, is the guy who knows how to find ladies who give him real love. We have to put emphasis on how. Knowing what is important up to a certain point, but the how is always going to be infinitely important. The importance of the how is never ending. The reason why the how always defeats the what is something we mentioned a few minutes ago. Very few people can fake evidence that's based on the rules of science, mother nature, and father time. What equals theories, ideologies, and possibilities. How equals practice, reality, and probabilities. Anything's possible in theory. How much of that theory becomes a reality depends on the practical execution. The what to do is usually subjective. The how to do it is usually objective. Essentially, it's not possible for anyone to create, protect, or develop anything that's based on a subjective. So, as mentioned already, we all vote for systems that require gathering evidence to prove guilt or innocence, which means we all vote more for systems that are tangible, measurable, specific, and we all vote less for systems that are vague, ambiguous, and abstract. The guy who knows how to find ladies who give him real love is the guy who follows the rules of science, mother nature, and father time. This type of guy is commonly known as the business handling guy because he makes it his job to learn how to actually discover real love. There are only two types of evidence that proves a lady wants to give a guy real love. First evidence, the lady's giving the guy her money. Second evidence, the lady's giving the guy her body. It goes without saying that very few guys will ever meet ladies outside of their relatives who give them substantial amounts of money on a regular basis. When it comes to normal circumstances, ladies don't do that. Under normal circumstances, the only realistic proof of real love is when the lady gives her body to the guy on a regular basis, which means the lady's getting intimate with the guy as soon as possible and as often as possible. This is the only way anyone can prove that the lady loves the guy more for who he is than what he has. Loving the guy for who he is equals real love. Loving the guy for what he has equals fake love. Intimacy is the highest level of human connection. The symbol of intimacy is the human body. So, no human body means no intimacy, which means it's not real love. The guy who's experiencing the level of dating relationship success that 95% of guys can only dream of is the guy who knows how to find ladies who give him real love, which means he knows how to prove with objective evidence that the lady loves him more for who he is than what he has. He finds the objective evidence for real love by following the rules of science, mother nature, and father time, which is more commonly known as the dating rules. According to the dating rules, the strongest type of evidence to prove real love is when the lady's getting intimate with the guy as soon as possible and as often as possible. Following the dating rules always leads to real love, and real love always leads to successful dating relationship experiences. Following the dating rules creates more solutions than problems. Breaking the rules creates more problems than solutions. The former is the definition of success, and the latter is the definition of failure. How do we know this is always true in the world of dating and relationship? Anyone can believe anything. What makes this go from just a belief to a fact? Firstly, beliefs become facts when they are tangible and measurable, more than they are vague and ambiguous. Beliefs become facts when they have reality and probability, more than they have ideology and possibility. Beliefs become facts when they have universal, fundamental, foundational building blocks that are set in stone. Just like the law of gravity, the engineering might change, but the physics remains the same. Without understanding the physics, the engineering can never be achieved. The physics are the natural rules. The engineering are the ways to get better at obeying those natural rules. The engineering might help to bend the rules, but it will never break the rules. So now let's go even further into why these are the facts of real love. If the strongest type of evidence to prove real love isn't when the lady's getting intimate with the guy as soon as possible and as often as possible, then what other evidence is stronger than intimacy? Nobody can prove that there is a stronger evidence. No one can prove that there is a stronger evidence for real love than intimacy. So what are the factual elements that have to come together to create real love? Well, one, simplicity. The guy has to always be doing things that are natural, necessary, and straightforward. Simplicity, concision, is about density of value. All kill, no fill, which means that there has to be transparency with every intention. It's the opposite of adding meaningless fluff to increase the superficial. It's cutting out everything that's not essential or impactful. The guy needs to practice taking out what isn't essential. He needs to remove clutter. Another way to think of being straightforward is having direction. Direction means direct action. And again, just like the law of gravity, the law of parsimony is set in stone, aka Occam's razor. It's a problem-solving principle that states the simplest explanation for a phenomenon is usually the correct one. Explanations that are less complicated and require fewer assumptions. Simpler explanations are easier to test, they're easier to understand, and they're easier to prove. Two is efficiency. Now, success is all about increasing production and reducing waste. The focus has to be on getting the best return on dating investment. Every guy has limited amounts of dating resources. If he makes a simple dating mistake, the long-term consequences will be destructive. So that's two, efficiency. Now, three, equality. Equal opportunities for everyone, equal responsibilities for everyone, equal benefits for succeeding at the responsibilities, and equal consequences for failing at the responsibilities. The same rules apply to everyone. So, the three most important elements of real love are always simplicity, efficiency, and equality. S-E-E. Again, we have to ask, if S-E-E are not the three most important elements that create real love, then what other elements actually create a better version of real love? Again, nobody can prove that there are any other more important elements. Nobody can dispute that real love is made up of elements that are different from the three we've just mentioned. So now, how does the guy actually identify these three important elements in a dating relationship situation? Well, firstly, he looks at the level of sensibility in the dating relationship situation. So, how often is he making logical decisions compared to emotional decisions? And how often is the lady tolerating logical decisions over emotional decisions? How often do they accept tangible, measurable, plausible, and meritable explanations? So, that's the first one. Secondly, he looks at the level of intimacy in the dating relationship situation. How often does she get intimate with the guy more than anything else? Thirdly, he looks at the level of variety in the dating relationship situation. Yes, how often does the lady enjoy sharing intimate experiences with the guy and other ladies? So the guy identifies the three important elements by looking for levels of sensibility, intimacy, and variety. S-I-V. So let's review. If S-I-V are not the best ways to identify real love, is there a better way for a guy to identify real love from a lady? Again, nobody can prove that there is a better way to identify real love. No one has a better option to identify real love. Ladies know that nobody can prove that there is a stronger evidence, or that there are any other important elements, or that there's a better way to identify real love, which is why we can say that it's a fact. Every lady is mostly attracted to a guy who's serious about creating real love. Every lady develops the most fanatical levels of attraction for a guy who's serious about creating real love. The difference between very successful and any other spectrum of dating relationship experiences depends on how seriously the guy takes the process of creating real love. Any guy can try to make any lady fall in love with him, but real love means falling in love for the right reasons. It means that no matter what happens, they end up on good terms and in good spirits with each other. It's very rare for a lady to know a guy who takes the process of finding real love seriously. Just like it's rare for most people to know a multimillionaire or billionaire, ladies know that only 5% of guys take the process of finding real love seriously. And with a conservative population ratio of 2 ladies to 1 guy, ladies struggle even more to find that guy. When demand is higher than supply, then supply becomes more valuable. 100% of women are looking for those 5% of guys first before deciding to settle for the other 95% of guys. Ladies are naturally more intuitive than guys. They have a stronger connection to their subconscious than guys. They are able to instinctively sense patterns and habits of success in guys very quickly and at the very early stages. Ladies know what it takes to have successful dating relationship experiences. They also know that most people are not willing to do what it takes to have successful dating relationship experiences. The capability and competency required for success is too much for most people to handle. When a person lacks capability and competency to create real love, they begin to present the steps as being more complicated than they really are. By presenting it as more complicated, they make it easier to justify their inability to maintain the discipline for achieving successful dating relationship experiences. Discipline means self-control. Everyone's created with the spirits of greed, ego, and pride. Those three spirits never go away. So all we can really do is create systems to control them forever. Ladies are aware that most guys will never learn to have dating discipline. Guys will use complication to hide the truth about their limitations, which means they use complication to hide the fact that they can't be honest about their true intentions to the ladies. Ladies know and understand intuitively, instinctively, and subconsciously that intimacy and variety are the most important and meaningful parts of a dating relationship situation. Every other part in a dating relationship situation is superficial and is only added to the situation because of the guy's inability to control greed, ego, and pride. Misery is created when there are high levels of greed, ego, and pride. So this means ladies know that the guy who's serious about finding real love is the guy who's having intimate experiences with a large variety of ladies. So again, according to the evidence based on the laws of science, mother nature, and father time, every lady is mostly attracted to a guy who has a rotation of attractive ladies he's sleeping with. A rotation of baddies, a rotation of hotties. Ladies know and understand that it's completely out of character for a normal guy to be focused and fixated on attracting only one lady. With all that the world has to offer when it comes to ladies, why would a normal guy settle for just one lady? As expected, the only answer that anyone can provide to explain why it makes sense for a normal guy to be with only one lady will be vague, ambiguous, and subjective. There's no reason to do it. There's no need to do it. It doesn't enhance the dating relationship experience. It doesn't work out most of the time. The consequences of a one lady fixation not working out has a long term destructive effect on the community. So, ladies understand that a guy who isn't aware of this phenomenon and still keeps using the same systems that don't work out most of the time is most likely on the spectrum of insanity and delusion, which is a big sign of lack of capability and competency. How can a lady actually tell that a guy is having intimate experiences with lots of different ladies? Well, the guy who's having intimate experiences with lots of different ladies is the guy who's consistently approaching and talking to new attractive ladies, new hotties, new baddies. Consistently approaching and talking to baddies is the most efficient and effective way to create real love. It's easier to get exposed to all the universal, foundational, fundamental rules of dating relationship. The guy's forced to learn how to get better at obeying the rules. It's easier to fall in love for the right reasons, which eventually leads to successful dating relationship experiences. Every lady has the highest attraction for a guy who's consistently approaching and talking to new attractive ladies. Ladies realize that this guy isn't using complication to compensate for limitations. He focuses on the essentials. Everything he does is on a need to do basis. Ladies know and understand that there are only few guys who experience intimacy with a rotation of hotties on a regular basis because it's psychologically difficult to do. So now that we have the factual philosophy of real love, we can then prove that, in a nutshell, finding real love is all about doing two main things. One, approaching and talking to at least 10 ladies a day. Two, consistently improving the 10 ladies a day approach and conversation. So that's taking it from rusty to polished, from shaky to smooth, from robotic to natural, and from naive to wise. The guy will be forced to get better. He'll have no choice but to get better. His lack of capability will be so painful that he'll have to do something about it to stop the pain if he wants to survive in that world, which means he'll have to keep getting better. The guy with a high body count always leads to the guy with a better selection process because it puts the guy in a position to see all sides of ladies that most guys never get to see until it's too late. He gets to see them all. He gets to have all the information he needs to make the right decisions before it's too late, which makes him an exceptionally better judge of character than most guys, and exceptionally better at predicting patterns of behaviors. By following these two steps, he's always going to become the most attractive guy to every lady. Ladies realize that he has the highest potential to lead them into successful dating relationship experiences. Ladies realize that he has an exceptionally high seriousness level to creating real love. He's always going to have the most leverage and advantage over every other situation. If a guy is doing the work, the results will always follow. So doing those two main things is a perfect mix of practical experience and theoretical experience. It's similar to learning a language. If we have guy A versus guy B, guy A says he's 100% serious about learning Spanish. He decides to take classes, watch Spanish films, and listen to Spanish music. Then you have guy B who says he's 40% serious, but then he decides to go to live in a Spanish speaking country. He works in a local Spanish speaking market. He dates ladies who speak mostly Spanish over there. Guy B will always end up learning more Spanish than guy A, even though guy A claims to be more serious about learning the language. Because by focusing on practical experience, guy B can't escape the relevant theory, and he learns the theory quicker. Now remember, we already said that nobody can read minds, so how can anyone say this is the type of guy every lady is mostly attracted to? Wouldn't we need to ask every lady what they find most attractive about guys? But then, even if we ask every lady the question, what's to stop them from lying? Again, nobody can read minds. It's a never-ending, nobody can read mind cycle, right? Well, the answer is simple. Actions speak louder than words. Everyone votes for systems that require gathering evidence to prove guilt or innocence. The evidence shows that throughout recorded history, every single era of human civilization, no matter what social class we study, from royalties to aristocrats to middle class to commoners, the historical records always show that the majority of society practiced sleeping with a variety of people. No matter how they decided to commit to each other, they would always end up having intimate experiences with different people, which means that polygamy and polyamory has always been practiced more than monogamy. Ladies know that any guy who hasn't learned this is struggling to be an adult, and ladies are instinctively less attracted to childish behaviors in guys. Ladies are more attracted to the guy who's learning to consistently approach and talk to new attractive ladies, hotties, baddies, because they realize that a guy who's more serious about making adult decisions is more likely to find real love, which then becomes a successful dating relationship experience. So now we have to ask the question, why is falling in love with one lady a childish behavior in guys? Why is being in a dating relationship situation with only one lady a childish behavior in guys? That's something we'll be discussing in another episode. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed.